Welcome back to DAGryffyn Hobby. My name's Dave. I've got a number of projects happening in the train room right now, and I figured I'd take a moment and catch you up. Most of what I've been working on is right there, and that's my new control center. For a long time, I was trying to make it happen on a metal cart that I had purchased. The idea was to have 2 or 3 or 4 ZWs controlling everything. And there have been changes since that idea first formed, namely adding TMCC, and I also have a DCS Explorer. So I don't need or want conventional control to that degree. I still do want conventional control because when you run post-war, there's just something to grabbing the handle on the ZW and making the trains go. It's just not the same with the remote. So the project wasn't just the control panel. It was also rewiring the entire layout. When I initially wired the layout, it was just temporary. It was a way to get things going. And since it's been a couple years, really, since I did that, I was definitely noticing some spots where I was getting some voltage drops and just all around poor performance. When I initially assembled all the track, I used a pair of track pliers to squeeze each end of the track so that it would fit nice and tight. And I noticed when I was taking some of this apart to rewire it, that some of those spots had come quite loose. And that's really why frequent drops are so important, because even if your track's tight when you put it together, it very well could loosen up over time. I've got the outer loop wired at this point, and I've got 10 drops. I probably could do more, but considering all my straight pieces are the 30-something inch long pieces, there's not as many joints in between some of these drops as there could be. In order to add all the new drops, I had to move a lot of stuff on the layout. The one corner, I've pretty much removed everything, and I'm even at the point where I'm considering moving the track. I probably won't, because it seems like a lot of work for very little difference. So hopefully I'll come to my senses in a day or two. But I've got large portions of the layout that are a mess. And some of the stuff that I moved, I haven't moved in a long time. So now that it's different, I've thought of different ways to put it back together. So it might be a little different, still functionally the same, but different spots that bother me, I've thought about ways to fix it. I'm really happy with how the control panel's turning out. So let's go take a look at that. So here it is. It's still definitely a big work in progress here. The whole top third is not even close to how I want it. I mean, obviously at the moment it's pretty much a blank board, but I haven't been able to decide how to mount that part of the panel in a way that I like the way it looks and also enables me to get all the wires in the cabinet that I need to. The bottom shelf is for all the TMCC components, as well as the DCS Explorer. Some of those pieces are mounted with screws into the key slots on the back of the components. The other pieces are mounted with a double-sided 3M sticky tape. It holds it well enough and also enables me to remove stuff if I need to. The DCS Explorer, though, is held in place with hot glue, and it seems to be doing a good enough job, and also I can remove it if need be. The middle shelf at the moment is just a charging station for a phone or iPad. I haven't tried using that iPad yet to control the DCS Explorer, mainly because for some reason the DCS Explorer is not working, and also it's an old iPad, so I'm not even sure it will work with that one. But that was the idea for that portion, and then to give me a space just to lay the line chief remotes. The top third has 3 switches at the moment, and that's it. And that's to control power delivery to the 2 main loops. I have analog ammeters and voltmeters I may put in there. I'll also need switches for my makeshift yard that I've built, not connected to any of the loops, but it's a place where I can store locomotives and do really minimal switching. So I'll need a bunch of switches there to turn the blocks on and off for that yard. I'm sure there's other stuff I'll need there, but at the moment, I can't think of what that stuff is. One of the changes I made to my power station, I'm really happy about. Alexa, trains on. There we go. I've got it nice and lighted. I've got it on a smart switch, so that I can either just turn it off when I'm done, or I can tell Alexa to turn it on and off. If I'm running trains and I want low light and I don't want to necessarily see the board, I can flip the switch and turn off the LED lights. And I'm using one of the old Lionel control switches, number 364, one of these babies right here, to turn the power on and off for the LED lights. Now, what I like about this is that it looks so clean, from the front anyway. One of my favorite parts is that I've got the ZW mounted to the back of this, and it enables me to use the two main switches to control the two main loops in conventional mode. And then the inner handle on the left side is providing power to the TMCC for the upper loop. The inner handle on the right at the moment isn't doing anything, but I have that wired up to power some accessories. On the bottom right, just above the outlet, which is switched by the smart switch that's at the top right, I have a K-line transformer set at about 13 volts, which is being converted to 10 volts DC to power the LED lights. And then at the bottom, I have the power brick for the DCS, and then just the outlet bars where I plug everything in. Definitely still a work in progress. I want to clean up a lot of this, especially at the top left there. The wiring for the lights is kind of just it's kind of a mess, but that's also, I was just wiring that up to see how it would all work. On the bottom, just to the left of the outlet, I have a USB hub, and that's providing charging power for the iPad and the phone cradle. This is the wiring so far for the layout. The top block is for the outer loop, the middle block is for the inner loop, and the bottom block is for the upper loop. These distribution blocks I got off of Amazon. I'll put the link in the description. Hopefully I remember to do that. But there's also an MTH version that's possibly better than this. I go cheap just to save a few bucks and see what works. But you might be better off buying the MTH version. Also, as far as cheaping out, I used copper clad wire, which, depending who you ask, is a big no-no. It has a bad rap, which has to do, from what I gather, years ago when it was used in homes, and a lot of the connections got corroded and caused wiring issues and overheats and fires. I'm not running a whole heck of a lot of power through this wire. This is 16 gauge copper clad aluminum wire. It should be okay, but also I wanted to see, because I've read so much contrasting information. People that swear by solid copper, people that say that the copper clad's okay, some people who say solid wire instead of stranded. I figured I would use the copper clad, save a few bucks, and see how it goes. You might want to just skip saving a few dollars and just go right to the solid stranded copper wire. It's probably just a safer bet. This is basically an experiment. I wanted to see how the wire worked for me. I'm not afraid of it bursting into flames or anything like that. I can get a good look at the connections frequently and see how they are, if there's any corrosion or issues or anything heating up or looking weird. So I'm really not that concerned, but I probably will think about it from time to time. All the wires from the layout come down to the block. It'll be the same here. They'll come down this way or this way, depending on which side of the board that they're on. This cable here is all the power running from the other portion of the control center to the distribution blocks. Here I've got a terminal strip for the TMCC ground, because the ground needs to connect to all those components. And then down here I've got power from the ZW for accessories, and I've got a circuit breaker in there. Just in case something shorts, it will pop a lot quicker than the breaker inside the ZW. Now, one of the things I like that I did here, I drilled a hole on an angle so that I could leave a screwdriver right there and always have one where I needed it. One thing I have not mounted to the back of the board yet are these SC1 controllers. I'm going to use them not for switches, since I really don't have any, but for accessories. In order to use it just for accessories, you need to power the box. I don't have the cords for this, but I did look up the specs, and I can either get the plugs for them, or I could actually open these up and wire them directly to a transformer. Once I figure out how I want to use them, they'll be mounted to the back here, or possibly to the board under the layout. Probably under the layout, just that I have less wiring on the control panel itself. So this control panel is just built out of old plywood that I had in the garage. I probably could have made it a little deeper, but the project that I borrowed the wood from, there were a bunch of pieces cut about this depth. So that's why it's not deeper than it is. The wheels might be the only thing I bought for this, and that's a set of 4 casters that I got off of Amazon. These 2 switches control the outer loop. Command and conventional. In the command mode, I can either use TMCC or DCS. I guess something on the track didn't like that. This one switches the inner loop from TMCC to conventional. Alexa, trains off. Fantastic. I've got layout pieces piled up in that corner. I have layout pieces removed from this corner. This is where I was considering putting wider turn in the back, but I don't know that it's really worth it. I might just get back there and inspect the track and make sure it's okay, because trains do tend to slow down in that spot, even after rewiring the layout. This whole center section is my make-believe yard. None of it is hooked up at the moment, but it used to be. And I had numerous blocks I could park engines on and cut the power, and then also run them out to the end and across the switches. This over here is the big headache. I have so much layout just piled up there, I don't even know what to do with it. Hopefully I will get both loops finished and wired, and then I can get some of this back to the shape it should be in. And then I just have trains, accessories, and stuff everywhere. Building flats and building pieces that I've arranged here to be a bit of an industrial spot. I had placed this Lionel truck there, and then I figured that building needed to be a Lionel Trains building, so I used a piece from an old damaged box to make a sign. That water tower is probably a bit big for the top of that building, but it was too small for a water tower, and I also accidentally broke the legs. So maybe it'll stay there, maybe it won't. And then I just have some billboards on the top of the buildings. This whole backside is just a mess. The one benefit of moving everything around is I stuck this one big board up here, and it gave me the idea that I should build the mountain over this walkway, so that when you walk back this way, you're actually walking through the mountain that will go up higher. I really like the idea. Hopefully I can make that happen. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time on DAGryffyn Hobby.